What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. We're starting things off today with the Atlas Cruiser. This is a viewer submission, and I really kind of like the look of liked the look of it, not like the look of it. That's not how. Anyway, moving on. I can't talk today. So this was apparently, according to the description, designed as kind of a general all-purpose type vessel exploration, but also could be retrofitted into a combat vessel should you desire to, etc. and so on. Now, one thing I do have to point out for this episode today, I actually had planned on all viewer submission stuff. I had it all set up, I had 3 picked out, I was like, cool, this is going to be great. And then I saw a bunch on the workshop that I was like, oh darn, I can't not show these. So, there's a couple of my viewer submission ones that may get pushed to the next episode. I'm going to try and make sure that they're at least seen, because they are really cool, and I really like them, but there was a few on the workshop that I had to, I just had to kind of point out. They were just too cool not to mention. But this was one that made the cut for this episode, so we're going to take a peek at it. One thing I like right off the top is the aesthetic. I mean, that should go without saying at this point. Most of you probably know that's the first thing that I use as a way to pick builds, is just, ooh, that looks cool. But it's weird in the reasoning, because it's not just like, oh, this looks sleek or it looks crazy or something. It just kind of looks... I'm trying to figure out how I would describe it, but I guess practical, but still cool. Like, it's a hybrid. Normally I mentioned that function over form industrial kind of look that I could see being an actual ship. When the technology was available, I could see like NASA actually building ships certain ways, and you get that more functional design, but then it's kind of not super sleek. And then you get the ones that are kind of crazy fancy, and they just look unrealistic but super cool. This one to me strikes me as like a blend, where it's like certain areas like in here around the thrusters, or these ribbed sections kind of in between the thrusters and stuff. It's like I kind of get a little bit of that industrial functional type style, but then you got like the cool suspended type glass bridge thing and stuff with some sleek hull designs and stuff, so it's just kind of an interesting hybrid, and I thought it was really neat. I also really like this archway around the hangar door. One of the things... Hey, somebody built this for me. They gave me a ginormous door that opens before I'm even close to it. Like right there. Look at the sensor range on that. Somebody went, he's not going to have trouble finding this door. Anyway, but no, one of the things that I find interesting about doing this series is you find little tricks, and sometimes it's the subtlest little things, but it makes or breaks a build. One of the things right here, almost every block in Space Engineers is considered a full block by the game, for collision box purposes. You know, it's like if you highlight this, that light there is taking up a block. So I find it really cool when people find ways to kind of hide blocks or stick them places where you normally couldn't by tricking the system a little bit. And it's like this. I think this is really neat that they put the base corner here, or the base ramp, so it turns this into kind of this curve, but then right here, since there's nothing in this space, we can put a corner a block there, a slope block, and it makes it look like it's just kind of built into the side. I think that's really, really cool. Again, it's those subtle little things, but yet they can often be the difference between a good build and a really cool one. So far, I would say that this has been a really cool build. I do like the new uses of the windows. I do really like the newer blocks that they've added in the game. I always forget to use them. Like, I'm so used to the original block set that I kind of forget what was there or what they added. But it's really cool. The other thing for me personally is that, like, some of these blocks, like the beds and, well, I don't know about the beds, but the showers and bathrooms and stuff, it's like they're cool, but since I typically build most of my stuff designed around my survival Let's Play, I never think to include them because I'm like, they don't really do anything. But even stuff like this, knowing the textures of the blocks. Oh, wait a minute. This is the sci-fi interior wall. Never mind, this is a new block. I stand corrected. I was gonna say the lights in the top, and I remember there's a certain texture that does that on interior walls. But this one's actually just the block itself. It's one of the newer sci-fi interior walls, which again, totally forgot they added those. So apparently if I want to make my designs look a little bit better, I gotta remember that they added stuff. Now this is an interesting setup here. We've got beds and bathroom and things, but then there's this area, which is almost like a conference area. By the way, one quick note, unfortunately, if you guys hear anything in the background, they're doing some construction stuff in my neighborhood, and there's these huge big rig trucks moving in and out with all their big old diesel engines and everything. So if you hear weird roars in the background, it's not dragons. That would be cool. Not really. It really wouldn't, actually, because that would mean that I'd spontaneously light on fire anytime now. But then we're here at the bridge now, in the midst of my rambling. So this is pretty cool. I don't know exactly what... It had all the scripts listed in the description, but I don't know exactly what all the scripts are on this. Obviously, it looks like we've got Pam. I don't know what that one is. I can't quite... I don't see a title or anything for it anywhere, but anyway, we've got some panel readouts here. We've got the map one. I forget how that one works, but it's really cool. So again, you guys probably know this if you've seen my shooting star build on my Let's Play series, but I kind of have a thing for suspended floating bridges with glass canopies kind of thing, so I was instantly hooked when I saw that, because I just think it looks really cool and super futuristic. I somehow did not mean to end up at the bridge. I was talking and did not pay attention to the signs, because I usually try and leave those for last, but I did not. So let's check out the engineering room. Ooh, barely made that door. Now one thing to note is, although I believe this is definitely a large grid build, I don't think it's a very large ship in terms of the overall square footage. So I don't think we're going to end up with too much more interior to explore than what we have right here. I think this is going to be the back end, the last room kind of area. Could be wrong. Oh, we do have I missed this before. We do have a landing pad up here. I somehow missed that, even though I flew over it like a million times. I just didn't pick up on the connector there. Also, stupid doors. Also, one thing is I wanted to point this out. According to the comments on the second to last video, I think, because of how the release schedule is with Patreon, I think it was the second to last one. Well, no, it would have been, yeah, it would have been the second to last by the time you're seeing this. In that video, there was a build that had a catwalk over top of this connector, and I mentioned I don't know if that would work or not, functionally. Apparently it does. I have not tested it myself, but there was a comment on that video that said that there are certain blocks that connectors will grab through, catwalks being one of them. Did not know that, but suddenly I find myself wanting to redesign anything that I've ever done with some kind of docking bay. But just thought I'd point that out in case other people may want to mess with that, considering that although it's titled the Inspiration Series, quite frankly, the main draw of this series is finding cool, unique building techniques and ways to get your design working and skirt the limitations of the engine of the game. So I felt like that was kind of something I should be pointing out. Okay, so we've got the batteries, we've got a startup and a shutdown trigger. Probably should mess with these, but I don't know what they'll do. Antenna, ore detector, landing gears, connectors, cameras, nothing too fancy. Cruise thrusters. Now, they're already on, so I'm guessing this isn't an override, it's just going to be hydros. It does, in the description, mention that you can use this ship in pretty much any environment, so I believe that means it can be atmospheric as well. We've got the jump drive, repair welders, emergency lights, and that looks to be it. Okay, so really, let's test out the flight mechanic. Wow! I know I said it wasn't a very large ship, but it actually moves really well. I'd put it in probably the Corvette category, I think. Because at least with the hydrogen engines, it accelerates pretty quick, and it moves around pretty darn great. So yeah, I really like it. It's a cool little ship. I think it's neat. Now, let's test out what the start and shutdown thingy is. So we'll hit 2. Let's see, is anything happening? I don't see anything happening. Possibly we're already in the startup state? Let's test that theory. Oh. Okay, so it looks like at least thruster controls. It might be batteries and other things, but it looks like it's at least the thrusters that are set to turn on and off. Although the ions didn't come back on, but the ions are listed in a blanked out group here, so I'm guessing possibly they got retrofitted to the sci-fi ones and then was not changed back to that group, maybe? Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this one, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next up we have the Divine Right, which is a Warhammer 40k Emperor-class battleship, according to the description file. Now, for those of you that don't know, I really don't know much about the Warhammer 40k series, other than the ship designs, which I've seen built frequently on Space Engineers, but I haven't actually delved into the books or the games yet, mainly because it's kind of daunting, and it's hard for me to find where I want to start with it and everything, but it always seemed cool. Really always liked the designs of the ships and stuff, because they always kind of look like flying castles, which I think is really a very weird but super cool idea. This one looks really neat as far as it's even got guns and pikes and stuff coming out of the front here. One thing that I do have to point out is this is a modded build. So it is a blueprint file, so there wasn't too many mods, but there are a few for any of you that are wanting to go modless. I don't know how many of them are rooted in the full design of the build, as far as I think these thrusters are modded, so I don't know if you could easily replace them with vanilla ones or what. There is one thing that I think is irreplaceable. It's one of the gyroscopes that are like the very high percentage gyroscopes or something like that. This is super cool. By the way, I was thinking that, you know, maybe this was a modded block. It's not. So that, I think, other than maybe if it uses modded blocks like ramps or something, but I'm pretty sure you could actually build these in vanilla, which is crazy. Oh, that's kind of neat. They've got that on a rotor. Huh. Well, what do you know? I've also liked... yeah, they've got them all over the place. That's so cool. It's like a flying spaceship with knight statues and stuff. What it really reminds me of, or rather, I should say, where I feel the... I was thinking of the Doom ship. I forget the name of it. The Doom Castle or something from Doom Eternal. But I would probably argue that I think Warhammer's been around before that. I mean, obviously before Doom Eternal, but I mean, I think it's been around before Doom, even, maybe? I don't know. I may be out of my depth here, and probably making two groups of fans angry, so I'm just gonna stop. Where is the door, though? You would think in a giant castle ship like this, there would be some double cathedral door thing, and there probably is, and I'm just completely missing it, but, all I see are windows, which is problematic for the door challenged among us. But yeah, I really like all the little details. Is this, this looks like it might be a small grid. Yeah, it is. That's cool. But all the little, like, the little insignias. I will say this one's colored a bit different than I've seen most of the other Warhammer builds. Most of the time they're a lot darker with, you know, more of a, not grungy, but kind of a darker color palette kind of thing. You get blacks and golds and stuff like that mixed together. We're gonna go in through the hangar because it's available. I'm gonna turn my headlamps on here because I can't see. Now, in the screenshots on the build, it or on the workshop file, it does show multiple fighters. But in the description comments, I did read that the builder mentions that they were kind of just for show because the actual fighters that were pictured wouldn't fly in space. So the particular ones you saw, if you're looking at the workshop file, why is everything off, is what I want to know. That's interesting. Alright, let me adjust some things, because I feel like this got pasted in a weird way or something, because everything seems like it's turned off. That's better. Alright, so couple of things. One, it was off, and two, it was actually pasted in as a station. Now, I changed it, but I may actually change it back, because, at least for now, until we decide to try and move it, let me see if I can do that. Because it does seem to run smoother on the CPU and stuff. Although mine's not slow, it's not ultra beefy or anything either. So that's one of those that for this video purpose, I'm going to run through it like this just so it's a little bit smoother and not quite as jagged on you guys' end for frame rates and stuff like that. But, yeah, like I'm actually moving a lot better. Wow, there's multiple hangars going on here. I thought it was just the one hangar, but there's quite a few hangars. So that's interesting. It does mention that in the description that if you have a CPU that can't handle it, to paste it in as a wow, what's going on here? As a station, sorry. So we'll probably convert it back to a ship briefly, just so we can test the flight capabilities and stuff, but I figured for now, since we're just walking through, it'll be a little bit easier on you guys' eyes. And, of course, there's gonna be some gigantic door or something here. That's the kind of door I was looking for. Although it doesn't seem like it leads outside. I was expecting this to lead outside, and then be kind of like, see, I should have just looked, but apparently this goes to the warp gate or something. Now that's another interesting thing. I don't know, twofold. I don't know how accurate the interior of this is, because I don't know if in the games and stuff you ever see the interiors of the ships. But good grief, how many... What am I walking through right now? How many of these layers are there? The other thing is when it comes to, it mentioned like warp gate or something. I don't know how much of the technology and stuff is going to be retrofitted to make it work in Space Engineers, like you've got jump drives and things. But I don't know if maybe in Warhammer they use gates or something. So I will leave it up to Warhammer fans to comment on how accurate the design is, because I just am wandering around kind of like, this looks cool, and it's more ginormous than pretty much anything I can dream up building, but I have no idea if it's accurate or not. Now, the one thing I do think is super cool is the piping. Obviously, it's just curved tubes, curved armor blocks, and it doesn't serve a purpose, really, but it looks super cool. Like, it makes it kind of, not necessarily steampunk, but industrial. It's like, it looks like, you know, I guess kind of in a way steampunk, because it kind of looks like a bunch of pipes and things, and whether you're running a coal engine or steam, I guess it kind of looks the same way, but that's pretty cool. And, of course, then you got areas like this where it's like, I don't know if this is a dance floor or just supposed to be a checker pattern. That's the only downside with reviewing... No, I shouldn't say reviewing. I'm starting to say that because everybody tells me that. I don't ever set out to review ships. I just show them. I just showcase them. I make my own comments on what I think is cool and whatnot, but I'm not really reviewing them, because the last thing I'm going to do is tell somebody their ship doesn't look... or wasn't done well enough when you compare to my ships that aren't done well enough. So, never... I might point out things that I'm like, I think this one looks cooler than that one, or something to that effect. But I'm never going to be like, you did this wrong, because, yeah, I don't have any room to talk as a builder. So, that would be kind of the pot, meat, kettle kind of situation. But the one big thing I'm totally lost in this ship at this point. I know I'm going up-ish here and there, but good grief at the repeating patterns in this ship, though. It's like how many times do we need to have this same... I'm guessing these are all... There's a conveyor port here. Oh wait, no there's not. That's not connected to anything. It's just supposed to look like it is. I was gonna say that's probably to all the gun turrets and whatnot up top, but I guess it's not. Now wait a minute. This ship, I'm so confused. Okay, I can actually get out here. Okay, this is one of the giant windows. Man, this ship is even bigger from the inside. Than on the outside, you're like, that's a pretty big ship. On the inside, you're like, this place is freaking huge. I do like all the knights, though. I think that's pretty cool. I am so lost. What is this? This looks interesting. Can't tell if it's to do anything or just look cool. It's got a bunch of connectors and things. I'm looking for a warhead. It looks like a missile. Maybe it is a missile. Maybe that wall opens. It's a missile of some kind. Oh, I forgot that it is modded as well, so... we've got apparently bullets or spikes or something. It kind of looks like a... Wait a minute. This can't be functional, can it? I'm looking for moving parts, because... No. I don't think so. Okay. But I think it's supposed to be a cannon. That those are big shells that are supposed to get loaded into the cannon, and then they would basically cycle down like a magazine. Dude, this ship is just gigantic and amazing. I mean, grant you, there's some areas that, in my opinion, are a little, they're huge, but they're kind of empty. Kind of thing. There's not a lot of like details everywhere, but at the same time, the sheer size of the ship is already a problem for frame rates and things, so I don't know that you could get away with a whole bunch of decorative stuff all over the walls to make it even more detailed, because it's already having trouble running, or at least my system's already having trouble running it as a ship, so there's that. But, I mean, man, what I'm gonna try and do, in the interest of keeping this video a little bit more on the shorter-esque side of things, I may not show every nook and cranny of this ship because, well, first of all, I don't even know if I find them all. But the other thing... Did I come down from here? I feel like I did. I think I did. Maybe not. Maybe I did, but it was further up. I think I got to the end of this hallway, right? If it ever ends. It never ends that way, too. Yeah, so I went down this way. I'm trying to find a way up to the bridge, but I can't seem to find a way up past this point. But yeah, so in the interest of keeping this shorter, I think, because we still have another build to look at, I think I'm going to not necessarily show every area of this ship. Sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy or giving them motion sickness. And I'm going to basically hunt for the bridge. There's an up. Let's go up. I'm going to basically hunt for the bridge so that we can see kind of how the ship moves and whatnot. I think we found it. This is cool. Now, what would be really cool is if this was actually running. I'm 99% sure these are just textures that have been placed on there, but that would be really cool. Yeah, the layout of this is just nuts. It looks like a freaking castle. Which is, I mean, it's even got the little, I forget the name of them, but the little stubby things on the top of the castle. What is that called? I want to say, it's not a banister. It's a, dagnabbit. You guys in the comments can tell me what the top notched parts of a castle area is. I always forget what they're called. I feel like it starts with a B, but I'm probably wrong. We got a nice back window out here, so we can see everyone behind us. We can see all the carnage behind us as our warship rips through the fleet. This is Navigator. Kind of feels like a throne room. Just saying. Like, that seems like an awfully, seems like an awfully special seat for a navigator, if you ask me. But, what do I know? So this is interesting, too. We've got a captain's chair, which, once again, very cozy. He doesn't have to do anything. He just tells people what to do. And then we got, like, an observation area up here, which is kind of neat. I can't tell. I just now noticed that there's kind of this yellowish tint to everything, and then when I looked out here, I was like, wow, my eyes had to adjust. This is super white now. And I'm wondering if this is the color of the metal or if it's the lighting. I feel like it's the lighting, because this doesn't look yellowish, but everything in here has this kind of, like, gunmetal, gray, yellow kind of tone to it. And I feel like it's actually the lighting, and the plates are probably just different shades of gray. Anyway, I don't know if I can actually fly this from here through a remote block, or if this is just for show. I think it's just for show. So let's see if we can find the actual flight seat. I don't know what that's for, but I'm kind of thinking it's going to be... That says not main, that says not main, so I'm guessing this is main. Oh, nope, it says not main either. That got covered up by the LCD screen. Well, then we're... Not main. Not main. Not main. Not main. Well, guys, I know sometimes these builds can get fancy, but I kind of feel like there needs to be at least one main cockpit somewhere. No? Just me? I think there might be a remote block. The description didn't really say, but let's see if there's no. Okay, well, apparently this is possibly the bridge, but not really where you fly it from. Well, color me intrigued, because now I'm very confused. Ooh, wait a minute, what's this? What is this way? Ooh, here we go. Here we go, this looks promising. There we go, alright. We found it. Macro turret controls, all hangar gates. Doesn't seem to be anything else. Oh, Lord. It does have some manual weapons on it, but it's not set up to fire them, it looks like. It's just kind of set up to... Huh, that's interesting. I wonder... We're gonna grab the group here and see if I can fire... There's a shoot once, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, there's no way that this could end horribly or anything. Actually, I'm not gonna do that because they're all in line. They're gonna blow each other up, so... If we take control... Okay, that's one turret. I see it now. Oh, okay, that's where the rockets are. That I can't seem to fire again. Okay, so then there's that. So then there's that one. I'm just trying to move them all. But then again, that's not the same kind of turret that I was looking for. I'm looking for the flak guns. Where are those? Those are probably... Yeah, you know what? One of the easiest ways is just fire them. Oh my! I can't find them, and yet they're everywhere. I don't actually see them. Where? Where are they coming from? Oh, they must be a much smaller block than I was originally expecting. Do I have... Let's try this with spectator real quick. I know this is super professional. I'm like all derping around, but this is what you guys usually say that you like me doing, so not my fault. Okay, so it's these guys right here. Interesting. I guess that shows you the size of the ship. I was thinking, oh, these are modified rocket launchers. That's why. I was thinking these were like the main rocket size type things, but I think they're modified slightly, although they are still a 1x1, it looks like. But they're built in that big turret housing, so they look a lot bigger, and so when I was firing the smaller ones, I'm like, where are these? Although those do seem to be hitting themselves. Oops, my bad. Good thing, I think I have block damage off, so that's a benefit. Alright, last thing, real quick, is at the expense of my frame rate, we're going to try and convert this to a ship and see how she flies. Again, these are modified thrusters, so I don't think a normal thruster set would accelerate the ship that quickly, because that was pretty darn fast for a ship this size. And I think this even has the, like, 1000% gyroscopes, and it still is kind of turning like a really big, heavy battleship kind of thing. So yeah, overall, really, really cool. Really like the ship. Love these Warhammer designs, even though I don't really know their accuracy or anything. I never get tired of seeing them. But with that, we're going to wrap this one up. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, and last but not least, we have the Star Citizen ship Endeavor. Well, the ship's not in the title, but I figured I'd add it. Now, there's one major thing I need to point out about this ship, or rather this build, is that it is as you can see in the background, it is a world file. Now, that's, like, I probably would have loaded it in to get some better frame rates without a planet and stuff like that. However, the world file contained all the mods, and from what I can see, there are quite a few of them. And without a mod list, I couldn't effectively make it into a blueprint to make it a little bit easier, but I think it's well worth it, because this ship looks crazy, and I don't even know what the original ship is supposed to look like as far as the accuracy to the Star Citizen version of the ship. I don't know, don't even care. This ship's pretty awesome. And I can say that because when you actually load the workshop file, you will start inside the ship, so I kind of had to bump around a little bit to try and figure out how to get out of the ship so that I could take the exterior screenshots that I use for the thumbnails and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that it's a lot of little things, and like I said, I don't even know how much of it is accurate to... I imagine it's pretty accurate to the original ship, because it kind of looks like it. And it's definitely one of those ships that I think has more than it looks, as far as if you compare, you know, here's the airlock type thing to the rest of the ship, it doesn't really look that big, but there's a lot of little details, so if you're looking for build inspiration, interesting techniques, building techniques, etc., then I highly recommend you check this out, because even little things like this, I don't know if this uses a mod block or not. It does to some extent, but you could probably do something relatively similar. It just might not be quite as tight of a space between the hull and the ramp type thing. But you could do something similar with just using the slopes and the ramp tips, and then, you know, doing alternating and stuff like that. Like, you can make some pretty cool shapes that it would look similar to that one. So there's just some little things here and there. I actually really like the design overall. At first I thought it was kind of almost similar to like a stingray type shape, and then when I came out this way I realized, oh no, that's the exterior, or that's the aft kind of thing, and this is the actual front. So I kind of really do like the design of the ship overall. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of little things here, like this type of stuff that is just crazy. Speaking of piping from like the last build and stuff like that, I don't think that's functional in any way, but it looks super cool. I do believe that's a mod though. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's a mod. That's part of why that looks so crazy looking. And this is obviously one of the like one block airlock kind of things, which I think, honestly, if Keen's listening, please just add a block like this. Just add an airlock block. It's just a vent functionality you've already got in the game, and a door functionality. Why not just do that? I don't know. Anyway, rant over. But yeah, that's kind of annoying to me that you have to use mods for stuff like that. But anyway, one thing that I do find intriguing is that for some reason the way this interior looks really reminds me of builds that I've seen from Skywanderer, or what's it called now? They renamed it. Starship Evo. It's recently came out in early access, I believe, on Steam. And it's kind of got a bit more, it's similar as far as building goes. It's actually very detailed in the building that you can do, in that it doesn't have the restrictions that some of Space Engineers does with the whole block thing. You can't have one block occupying another space. Starship Evo's very more flexible, much more flexible with that kind of stuff. But just the design aesthetics and the look of the game is a bit more on the cartoony side. Oh wow, that looks pretty crazy. Can we get in there? That'd be kind of neat to look at. Yeah, I guess we can. I'm going to actually leave my helmet off. They've got in the world setting file set to realistic sound, which I don't want. And I've got the creative mode turned on, so I shouldn't die. But this is pretty cool. Again, a great use of the hinge to have a connector that can hide away, kind of thing. That's kind of neat. And just the level of detail here is nuts. I don't believe the whole ship is built on a small grid, so I'm definitely thinking there's gotta be a hybrid going on? Maybe? Although it is hard to tell with all these mods, because they could have modded blocks that allow them to use things like the main large blocks on a small grid or something like that as well, so I don't really know for sure. That's kind of cool looking. What is that? Small conveyor tube. Oh, that's got to be another mod that actually makes some of the tubing functional. That's kind of neat. Then we got this over here. Maybe it is the detail. Maybe that's what's giving me the Starship Evo vibes. Maybe that's what it is. It could be that the level of detail... What did I just do? Door internal... I can't read some of that. Before opening the door, depressurize the hangar. That goes to the H2 tanks. Repair system. Well, that's cool. Oh. Wait, those are build and repair. That must be a small grid version, because that doesn't look like the same block type. Oh well, whatever. But see, it's stuff like that. I think it's the level of detail. That's what I'm going to go with. I don't know for sure, but I think it's the amount of packed detail into the build that is making me feel the Skywanderer Starship Evo vibes, because the way that that game handles build mechanics allows you to be a lot more dense with the detail work and much more flexible, rather than having to stay specific to a certain block and so on and so forth. So I think that's what's giving me that kind of vibe. I don't know that it's necessarily just the layout of the ship or the art style or the color palette of the ship or anything like that. I think it just actually has that reminiscent feel of how they have all these button panels, and in that game they're kind of packed in there as well. That's a game that I've really kept my eye on. I have it. It's in my Steam workshop, or my Steam library. I've kind of just been waiting for it to get a more survival mechanic implemented. In that creatively, I think the creative aspect of the ships you can build and the levels of detail you can get to probably have already surpassed stuff like Empyrean and Space Engineers. But I'm pretty sure at the moment it's early enough that it's still just kind of in a creative sandbox stage. I could be wrong, but I do apologize. I kind of got on a Starship Evo rant there, but I really haven't been pointing out very much about this particular build. But I feel like, in a way, it kind of speaks for itself, to be honest. I don't really feel like I have to be like, ooh, this looks cool. I'm just showing it, and I feel like a lot of you can already see what's cool about it. There's so much detail in here, it's insane. As far as having these little separator blocks between the walls, having different textures on the walls, different colors. You got the piping that goes around here. I didn't even know that's not the functional kind, so that's purely decorative. You got tables, you got chairs, LCD panels, piping, lighting. I mean, glass window blocks. The list goes on. I still think that one build from a couple episodes ago that actually, I was notified on my Discord that Space Engineers social media people actually caught wind of that and posted the video on their Twitter feed and stuff like that, which I was really excited about. But that one is still probably my favoritist build of all time at the moment. But this, in terms of level of detail and how much they were able to cram into one ship and still have it, like, not feel cluttered and it looks really cool and everything, yeah, this is probably a close runner. Like, it's probably a contender with packing just as much detail into stuff. I think for me, the one big difference would be that this one seems more... how do I put it? Believable? If that makes sense? Like, there isn't... like, this little stuff. This is detail work and it's really cool. But it's more like plausible. You're like, okay, there's wires and whatnot. The other one was like you had these glass, like, lobbies and all this kind of stuff. Now, this is pretty cool. The other thing, now that I think about it, I'm 95% sure that other build was vanilla, and I think that was the other thing that made it so nuts to me. Was I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And if that's if that's true, then to get this kind of look on your ship but have no mods on it, that's what really stood out as insane to me. So, but if you're... I don't necessarily see this as being less creative, though. Kind of that whole coming back to I don't really review ships and say one's worse than the other or anything. I don't really think this makes you less creative. You still have to have the brain to go, this would be cool here, and I should put this block here and stuff. I think the only difference would be it was probably easier because you didn't have to figure out so many ways to finagle what you wanted out of, you know, sometimes adding a mod would allow you to do something you didn't have to jury-rig, but... either way, though, I mean, this to me is what I think of. These kinds of ships are what I think of when I think of things that I'd like my builds to look like, and somehow they come out looking like Lego builds and not this. So let's see if I can get in here. I didn't have the highlight thing. So, because of the mods, this is going to be interesting. We've got thruster controls, thruster stop. I guess maybe that's an override. Bushmaster, 35mm cannons, control seat on and off, cameras. I'm not sure what the cameras are for other than just observing. I didn't see any custom torpedoes or anything. We've got the build and repair system, air vents, tank controls, shields. We'll mess with that. I don't know that there's going to be a visual for that. Connectors. Oop, what was all this? Batteries, reactors, gyroscopes, gravity generator, medical stations. Nothing other than the hangar doors here. Nothing really that we probably need to mess with too much. I don't see any custom weapon controls or anything like that, so we're going to stick to the flying, I think. Other than maybe the Bushmaster there, which... where's that coming from? Is it... oh, it's those four on the bottom that look like a circuit. I was thinking those were some kind of antennae. But that looks pretty cool, though. I mean, it almost looks like lasers. Alright, so let's give her a test flight. Actually, yeah, it moves really nice. Again, it is using modded thrusters. And given the graphic on the HUD, I'm going to say that they've done a world mod that increases the speed a lot. I could be wrong. But yeah, it moves really nice. I really like the fluidity of the ship. It accelerates and it flies very, very smoothly. Obviously, I've got some frame rate issues because of the level of detail and stuff, but as far as the actual responsiveness of the ship and stuff, it moves really smooth. Yeah, overall, really like it. So I think we're going to wrap this episode up here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.